thought I lost you there, Paul.
No, I never left.
All right. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
We just had a whole conversation, everybody, so we know how we're really doing.
Yeah, we had to catch up on IRL stuff before we talked about Last of Us stuff.
Well, we want to welcome everyone back. This is the
Fungus Among Us.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Paul. And today on the podcast, we are going to be discussing Season 2, Episode 5, Feel Her Love.
Feel Her Love. That's right. That's funny. Our intro, I got it reversed, and that's why I could see your pause, because normally I say our names and then the name of the show.
Right. I'm never
Sorry
quite
about
sure when you're going to pause and toss it to me. So at this point, I'm just kind of rolling with it. It's like an improvisational game. Which part of the title am I going to say?
That's true.
Let's dive in. I mean, this is going to be an interesting one to discuss. I've seen a lot of interesting discussion online about this episode.
Oh, okay. I haven't, so I'm excited to see your take on that. Hear your take
Uh,
on that.
well, I mean, yeah. Where do you want to start? I
Where to start?
yeah
It's so something huge I'm excited we'll get to later in the game that there's a lot of payoff for me in some ways was the spores. That's huge part of the story in the game and in this show. So I'm excited to see what you think about it for sure. But I say let's start off kind of at the beginning. How do we feel about the intro, the WLF lady, wolf
yeah.
lady?
I really liked that scene because of the performance of the woman who was playing the commander lady, which I should know this, but I'll look it up. Anyway, I thought she was really lovely. I thought she did
Yeah.
I was just really interested in her performance, and
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of liked the little reveal at the end of the scene that the guy they'd been talking about was her son.
The
Um,
other woman's son.
that's the woman I'm talking about.
Oh,
The
okay.
woman,
Oh,
the
that
woman.
she's you're right, because she was the commander.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the
Right.
commander that that had encountered the spores with her people, the lady who was
Right.
crying and being interviewed. What we were told to understand was that all of her own soldiers wanted to kill her, and Isaac wanted to possibly court-martial her, and essentially she was in trouble for killing a bunch of her own people. And that didn't make any sense to me because these people are all used to existing. I mean, we've seen many times that characters in this world are ready to shoot you in the
Okay.
head 5 seconds after you get bit. So I was like, why is everyone around her having so much trouble understanding that these people got infected?
Well, because of for writing's sake, for storytelling's sake, because the whole scene is to set up that there are spores. So, they needed something to bring that about, right? And explain like why she even locked not just her team but her own son down on level B2 of the elevator. So, I think it worked for me because to me both performances I was very invested in their stories, what they had to say, interesting side characters. So I thought it was a cool way to set up the Spore story, and I feel so sad for her that she lost her son.
Yeah, agreed. I liked everything about the scene. I just thought that the idea that suddenly the entire WLF couldn't get their heads around the idea that these people were infected felt a little contrived to me.
Right.
But
No, I hear you and I
yeah.
agree because I feel like there's a few moments like that in this episode. I can't
Mm-hmm.
quite remember what they are, but there's a few moments like that
There
where
are,
I
and I
feel
don't know if it's
similarly.
just that I'm thinking more and feeling less as we get further into the season, and so I'm picking out all these
Mm,
little nitpicky logistical things that don't quite make sense to me. But I also
yeah, it's
bumped
been a
into a few of
while.
those. Yeah, it's been a while since that part of my brain activated watching The Last of Us, and I'm not happy that it is. It
Hmm.
makes it less fun, but I can't really control it.
I still had a lot of fun. So, we haven't really been talking about how we feel on the episode before you and I meet up here.
Right.
However, I gave you an inkling a little bit because the first time around that I watched it, again, I was on some heavy medication from surgery. I had a health scare last week. I'm fine. Everything's good. Long story short, do not watch that while very on drugs for pain relief, because I was really disappointed and I was choking all the way through. However, I watched it again in a clear state of mind, and there are so many things I love about it that felt so like it was jam packed with good information. I felt in some ways it flowed fairly well. I feel like I got to know Dina a little bit more and her motivations for like going after Joel's killer made more sense to me with what happened to her family and how she would have hunted the person down that, killed her family if he had still been alive. So just kind of understood her motivations a little more other than, that she also loved Joel.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, I liked a lot of the individual moments, and with a couple exceptions. And obviously, the performances in the show are always terrific. It's really fun watching more and more scenes from the game come to life with the exact same aesthetic. I mean, I always
Mhm.
enjoy that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but I
agree.
think for me, if I could go big picture here at the top of the episode, it's an
Please.
idea. Yeah, I'll come back to an idea that I've talked about before, and it's really crystallizing for me. And I saw a think piece online. I read because also Andor, the Star Wars show, just wrapped up this past week, and that's something
Mm.
that I've been watching avidly. Shout out to my lovely girlfriend for sitting down and watching the last three episodes with me, even though she has almost no interest in it. Very kind of her. But,
Very.
yeah, I mean, that's real. That's really showing up for your partner. That's true support in
Oh,
a relationship.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm deeply grateful. Anyway, but so anyway, this think piece was comparing an episode of Andor that just aired to The Last of Us, and the title was like, "This episode of Andor made me realize why I'm not connecting to The Last of Us." And the Andor episode was about a sort of a father-daughter relationship, and it was these two characters that do very extreme, morally questionable things in the name of this rebellion against the evil empire that they're trying to build, right?
Mm.
And so what this piece was contrasting them with Joel and Ellie in the show and saying the reason that I'm not emotionally connecting with these characters and I'm not really on the journey, even though I should love this show, is because Joel and Ellie are awful people. They're deeply selfish people.
In the show, yeah, sure. Yep.
In the show and the game, really, because if you look at what they
Mhm.
do, there's what Joel does at the end of the first game. He wastes an entire platoon of people because he doesn't want to give up his daughter. I'm still on his side. But then in the second game, Ellie
Right.
prioritizes bloody revenge above everything else, also a selfish thing. And the reason that we love the characters so much in the game is because they're ultra cool and ultra relatable in very different ways, right?
Yep.
And in the show, I feel like, and we've talked about this before, the choice has been made to make both characters significantly less likable, you know?
Yeah. No,
And
we've come to this point a few times, I think. Yeah.
right. And for me, it's really, and so I guess up until now, I've had it in my head like, okay, but maybe there's a point to that. Maybe the show is presenting this different version of the characters because it's going somewhere with it that I'm going to ultimately appreciate. And there have been moments where I've kind of seen the value of it. But
Right.
I think at the end of the day, given the big picture of what these characters do in the story, we can't afford that for them to be that unlikable moment to moment. We can't afford
Yeah.
for Ellie to be obnoxious. We can't afford for Joel to be such an emotional wreck because
Mhm.
they're already doing horrible things. So you need to give us
Yeah.
more reasons to like them along the way. Otherwise,
I
yeah,
agree.
like you kind of detach from the story. And so the further I get into the season, the more I'm feeling that, despite how good so many of the ingredients the show are.
Oh, I'm absolutely on the same page with you. I think it's funny. I sent you that like meme joke of a comparison of Dina and Ellie in the game to Dina and Ellie in the show. And like somebody on the internet turned the show version of that interaction into some sort of sitcom where like the crowd is laughing as like Ellie keeps making her jokes. I'm like, that is so cruel. But I see it now. I see what's not working
Yeah.
because of that. And I'm so bummed out that, and we've talked about this before, they've kind of, and I'll say this fairly because they kind of dumbed Ellie down, and I don't like that. And I think Dina even says, or Ellie somehow says, like, "What, you think I'm stupid?" It's like, look, a little bit right now, like the way it's just like, why have they made her so like she's Ellie's just like two people in this show. She's like goofy and silly or scary and violent. Like she scared me in this episode as well. She
Yeah.
oscillates between these two characters that it's like there's no in between. And for me, for the most part, and I'm just like, D- damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Like,
this isn't even, it's not like we're interpreting this character as dumb. The writers
right.
explicitly told us through other characters 3 times in the episode that Ellie's just not a very intelligent person. And I'm like,
Right.
okay.
And I'm like, dang. I just like, I wouldn't have thought, I mean, I would have been, "Okay, Ellie, come on, you know better," but now I'm just like, why do all 3 of these people think she's, like, not intelligent? She's not school-oriented, as Dina said. I'm like, "Why are they going so hard on Ellie?"
I know, and
And
well, Ellie herself said she was a fucking idiot or something, and then later,
yeah.
Jesse's like, "Oh, yeah, good triangulation," and Ellie's like, "Yeah, Dina did that," and he's like, "Believe me, I didn't think it was you."
I know, yeah, there was that moment too that stuck out to me. I'm like, "What in the world is going on here?" And
Yeah.
that's the part of the writing to me that's starting to lose me.
Right, exactly. I feel like, and I felt
Oh
like this
god.
about Joel in season 1, and now I'm feeling it about Ellie in season 2. For some
Oh
reason,
no.
the authorial voice in the show just has decided that they don't want us to like the protagonists, and they want to continually remind us that they have these flaws. Not that there's anything wrong with dumb people. Forrest Gump was dumb, and I loved him, but I just don't
He was
understand the
intelligent in
reasoning.
his own
He was
way.
wise. He was wise. He was
He's
deeply
very wise.
wise,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
there you go.
But like, yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I don't get the decision making. Like, okay, let's take this beloved character and translate some parts of her, but also let's just make her dumb. And instead of making her like a really clever smartass, let's just make her like mindlessly obnoxious. I
Or
like,
and then
why?
the violent part, like, they're really, like, I just feel, and this is, I'm curious about Craig Mazin's choice because a couple times now he is referred to Ellie as violent. In season 1 when they're talking about her character when she, like, first starts opening, like, the cordyceps zombie to see spores coming from the brain, um, and kind of was like, at least from what I remember, this interview, like, insinuating that she's got, like, this thirst for violence,
Yeah,
and that's
that is
yeah.
something that he has imposed on the character.
And it makes sense because in the game, Ellie is also very violent, but what is so far disappointing, is that they're just really honing in on that characteristic of her and nothing else. Yeah, like, that cleverness, she's very clever, very smart and tactical, like, I think moves. It's a little like, so she didn't triangulate. Why why are they laughing at her? Like, I don't
Right.
know.
Also, yeah, I mean, I feel like Ellie could understand triangulation.
Yeah,
It's like in the show,
totally.
for some reason, I'm speculating it's probably driven by Craig Mazin because he's the showrunner and it's a drastic departure from the games. But it's like all of the sort of flaws and shortcomings that these characters might have had in the game are now like we're seeing these distorted funhouse mirror versions of them in the show.
Right.
And it's come to be the defining factors of the characters.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the same page. At the same time, though, I would love to talk about those ingredients of the show we love so much because
Oh, yeah, me too.
there's like, we're clearly venting to everyone.
Right. Well, I mean,
Because
I
I think
think
we
that,
have a strong point. I think you have also a special, most especially a strong point to make. So, it's just at the same time, I'm still enjoying the show,
sure,
love all the actors, and
actors are amazing.
the actors are amazing. They're taking the direction and doing, I think it's really cool so
Yeah.
far. It's just the choices of these characters, like you said, it's been a
Yeah.
little odd, but
It's been a little odd, and the further I get into it, the less, because I've been trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but the less
yeah,
I'm able to do that.
you're
Well,
spiraling with
yeah, it's a
it.
spiral. But one other thing I wanted to say about that internet meme you brought up, the laugh track
Yeah,
being added to the Ellie and Dina triangulation scene.
yeah,
I've also seen a lot of criticism of sort of the choice to have include like this lighthearted element to the characters, and
hmm
that scene has kind of become the biggest example of it that people are pointing to. I don't that and I just want to say, just to add some nuance to that discussion, like I like the idea that these characters could be joking around and having lighthearted moments on this
yeah,
mission, especially since, unlike the game, it's been months since Joel died and they've had more time to grieve.
right.
um but I think the bigger problem is that that scene just is not super well written. you know, because
Mhm.
there's been other lighthearted moments that were genuinely well written, and some of them in this episode that
Yeah.
nobody's complaining about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I felt that way about that whole scene. That's why I'm glad I sent you that meme or video. It was like
Yeah. You know what?
So,
I had seen that I think I had seen that meme pop up in my various timelines or whatever several
okay.
times, and I had never watched it because I kinda didn't want to. I was like, "Oh god, this is gonna be painful." But then when you said it, I was like, "Okay, I should watch it." And enough time has gone by that I can and I watched it and I was like, "Yeah, it is kind of painful." It's pretty
It's
painful.
exactly that.
Yeah.
I have to tell everyone a funny joke. So we've covered a lot here, and I'm excited to get more deeper into the show because we come across, the spores, we come across the scars, we come across Nora, and then a scene at the end that my jaw dropped. I love the teaser for Ellie playing Future Days. I
Mhm.
almost felt though we were gonna like break out into a musical. I felt like it could happen. Like
Yeah.
Dina just comes breakdancing. Joel's on a screen in the background. Like, I
That
don't
may have been
know.
the drugs. Yeah, she didn't play much of it. I was thinking it's kind of interesting. I mean, the game begins with future days. That's like literally the first thing that happens, I think.
Yeah.
Well, not literally. No, not the first thing,
No,
but it's
Tommy
in.
and Joel are
Yes,
talking.
yes,
Yeah.
Tommy and Joel talking, and then they ride on horses through the sunset fields. But it's like the second thing that happens.
Yeah.
And the show has been holding it in reserve. So we just got, even though the first episode was called Future Days, and now we
Mhm.
just got a little taste of it, and I bet we'll get the whole full Monty in the next episode.
Yeah, something to that effect. But okay, so there is a lot I loved. I felt like the setup for the spores, based on that, commander's story, what she went through, what they're going through, the way like they were so afraid of it being in the air. I liked that setup. I thought it was I was wondering if they introduce spores, how are they going to do that? And I think it was cool. I think it was a cool setup. And for me, it paid off. There was something so visually stimulating about how Ellie was walking through the spores in the show, almost rather than the game. I felt like you could kind of just move with them and the way they're like coming out of the breath of the cordyceps zombie growing on the wall. I thought that was so spooky
Yeah, that was nice. I like that too.
and weirdly beautiful. Sad.
Yeah,
It was a crazy cool set for sure.
it was. No, for sure. Yeah, it was pretty jaw dropping. Also
Yeah.
deeply appreciative of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I we really wanted spores, and I think paying off for sure. So,
We
you
got
know,
him. More
yeah,
infected too. I mean, every episode except for one has had at least one infected action sequence in it. So I'm
yeah.
appreciative of that too.
So I would say before we get deeper into that timeline, just jumping back here a little bit, we love Future Days. Glad we got a teaser to that. Um, the story of we went over Dina's first kill. Let me think about. Let me do a clap because I just need to pause my thoughts. Um, okay, so yeah, let's go back just a little bit here before we get deeper into the spores. Um, I think the scene with the smart infected where Dina and Ellie are walking to the hospital, I was like, man, I felt like they're really delivering on the fear factor this season more and more for me because that was terrifying. Um, to not just see one stalker, or as they call them, smart ones, but then they turn around and there's like a slew of them. That freaked me out. And I thought it was, you know, a really interesting, way for them to be in another form of trouble for Jesse to show up. Very different from the game because Ellie's on her own when Jesse shows up. And um, yeah, I think a part of me almost wanted Jesse and Tommy to show up. I just felt like if they're going to change it, I would have them both. I want to see all these actors together as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Well, yeah, that would have been nice. I agree. It was a super fun. I was really into that scene. I was having a
Yeah.
great time actually until Jesse showed up. Yeah. And here's why. I just kind of feel like it diminishes Dina and Ellie to have his entrance just be to save them. And then he literally tells them, "We followed you because we figured you guys would probably get yourselves killed."
Yeah.
And he was right, because if he hadn't showed up right then, they probably both would have gotten killed, you
Yeah.
know? And I,
Yeah.
I just felt like I mean, I see where they were going with it, but it did kind of make Dina and Ellie feel like they were bumbling, you know?
It did, yeah. That was another piece of the episode where I felt that gap
Especially
of yeah.
Especially considering that earlier in the episode, they had both looked each other in the eye and said, "We're about to do something reckless and foolish. Let's go." You know?
Yeah, yeah,
And then
bummer.
so I mean, it's just again, but then it's like it's just another thing of the show magnifying the negative traits of the characters to their
Yeah,
diminishment, in my view. It's,
'cause yeah, in the game, I really like that Jesse showed up, supportive, helping Ellie. They have that, like, car chase scene. That would have been cool if they took that from the
oh
game.
yeah, that was a sick action sequence. That would
It
have
was
looked
a sick
beautiful in the
action
show.
sequence,
Maybe they'll
yeah.
still do. I mean, they might still do it.
Yeah, who
Because that was
knows?
I think that was on day 3.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see. It's just now things have changed because we're introduced to the scars. That was terrifying. Like when Jesse, Dina, and Ali were together and they see that, the WLF won't come to this territory. We already know what the scars are capable of, but they're a witness to this horrific thing happening. So later on, they realize, as they're all in the woods, Dina is shot with an arrow. And so now Jesse runs off with Dina. I'm like, okay, Allie's on her own now.
Yeah.
And so I knew it was coming. Nora's scene, which for me, I loved in the game so
Well,
much. I was the most terrified.
let's talk about the scars first.
Yeah, I know we should, but that was intense.
I loved that scene. Well, no, I
Yeah,
mean,
me too.
I loved the look of it. I mean, they captured the look of a very specific moment in the game, but also that guy that played the lead Scar that was kind of like running the hanging
Yeah.
had a really terrific performance, and that's like every time the Scars have showed up, um, I feel like the actors playing them, both in that first scene with the guy and the kid, and then the guy getting interrogated by Isaac, and now this guy, are these characters could be really off-putting. They scar their
Mhm.
faces, they have this weird religion, they execute people and disembowel them. And yet I feel like they all have these really textured performances that feel really grounded and really
Mhm.
rooted in genuine belief. They're not playing them as monsters. They're playing them as humans who genuinely believe in something. And I've just found
Mhm.
every moment the Scars have been on, I found surprisingly compelling, and this was no
I
exception.
I agree. Absolutely. I think the reason why I stumbled on a bit is because I couldn't remember if there were two scar scenes like that. Was it would have been in that moment that the three of them knew this territory. They thought it was odd that the WLF wouldn't chase them in, and then they encounter the scars?
Yeah, they
I
sneak
can't
up and
remember.
they see the disembowelment and the hanging, and then as they're watching, all of a
Okay.
sudden Dina gets shot in the leg with an arrow, and then it goes
Okay.
into the escape sequence, and Ellie's sneaking around.
Right. Yeah, for whatever reason, I thought that we saw the scars in that kind of setting twice. So yeah. Anyway, no, I think too the scars are really compelling in their performances. I am curious what more we're gonna get of them this season.
I'm guessing not a ton more this season because most of
Hmm,
their stuff is in Abby's
in
journey, which it's
Abby's
really
journey.
looking like is going to be season 3.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna bring that up. I was gonna
Yeah,
say I think this is it. I think they're really following pretty closely like the format of the timeline in the show as it came out in the game. I
yeah,
think it's working. I
yeah,
think one thing that is strong and working is how they're playing with the timeline.
hmm yeah.
Yeah. So when
I
the next episode might be Joel and Ellie in a flashback.
I have a feeling the whole next episode's going to be flashback. I think that's probably likely. So you wanted to jump us to now we're on to the Nora section.
Yeah. But no, it was great that we talked about the scars first.
Yeah.
Let's go
Oh,
on to the Nora section. Yeah.
before we do you want to hear one other annoying little thing that I realized? I don't know. So
Yes,
like
of course.
when they got into that forest section, I went
Uh-huh.
back to much earlier in the episode and looked at the map that Dina was working from when she was mapping out the routes and stuff like that. And there was no park on that map. I mean, these were old growth trees. Those trees are more than 20 years old. Like all of those trees have been standing in that forest for a really long time, and I couldn't see
Mhm.
anything like that on the map she was working from. But I'll stop. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
I'm gonna have to go back and check that out now.
Okay, to
We'll
be
see.
fair to them, you didn't get a great look at the map,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say maybe it's on there. I
it
don't
could
know.
be.
It
Yeah,
could
they didn't
be.
seem to have run very far from the long building before they got into that forest. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments what if you think the map matches. Okay, never mind. I'll stop. I'll stop. Let's move on.
No, no, no. Let us know in the comments if you think Dina's map matches the logistics that they actually had to go through. and the demographic of like the area.
There's
That's
probably an
great.
hour-long YouTube video where some guy talks about just this.
Oh yeah. This is what this is turning into, folks. No, just
Yeah.
kidding. um, no, well, it's I get it. You're emphasizing off of how they keep trying to tease that Ellie is dumb.
No,
um,
oh, no, I wasn't, but you could interpret it that way too.
yeah, there you go. Um, speaking of the Nora scene that we head into, Ellie makes the choice to pursue her revenge and not follow Jesse and Dina. She doesn't know how and Dina are doing, but she makes the choice that's just overcome her. That's her other characteristic, revenge. Heads towards the hospital and encounters Nora. I wish it was kind of the same as it was in the game because here, like, Ellie just showed up and was like, "Hey, Nora, it's me. I'm about to take you down." I was like, I missed the way like Ellie snuck up on her in the game, like underwater, under that tunnel. It was
Oh, yeah.
cool. It was cool.
Well, this was where the video game girl was, right? The girl that was playing Game Gear and
Yeah,
Ellie
first it was the
to kill
video
her?
game girl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think also, yeah, I think it would've been good if Ellie had killed, like, 20 soldiers, like, in the game,
Yeah.
before she Nora, but whatever. I
Yeah.
mean,
Maybe too I have the timeline wrong, but
I could too.
anyhow, I think I have it wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't know. However, I remember that this was a part in the game running after Nora that my heart was like racing the most. It was such a cool chase scene. For me, such a cool chase scene. You're
It
just like forced to run and rush through this. You have no other real option. And I just again, I felt it was great. Love Nora, the actor playing Nora, fabulous. And wow, wow, wow. Does that characteristic of violence in Ellie come out? It was almost jarring to me with how she'd kind of been, you know, how her emotions had been throughout the most of the episode. It was crazy to see her switch into violence and like how intense it was going to be. Like she was crazy.
Yeah, it was really good, and, that's another thing that I've seen a lot of criticism of online, like, it was somehow atonal or, like, Bella wasn't doing enough, but I thought it
Oh
was great. I
wow.
mean, I was right there. I liked how sort of, like, still uh they were in that performance.
Yeah,
I
me
There
too.
was a
Wow.
certainty to it, and it got to a really intense emotional place, but it was like a sudden explosion, and for
Mhm.
most of the scene it was like very matter of fact and very methodical, which I thought was chilling and I thought was really interesting. I really loved that scene.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's just for when I get a little, like, things are jarring, is just that intense switch of these 2 characters that really Ellie embodies. I For me, yeah, it was chilling. I'm surprised that's been some of the feedback online. That's one of the reasons why I don't tune in too much to what people are saying online.
Yeah.
I think it's important to keep conversations and going, but when they kinda, like, I don't know.
I
I
Well,
think
yeah, I know what you mean, and I don't go that deep for the same reason. Most of it is useless, but I do skim the surface a little just to like get a little sampling. And
Mhm.
I could be wrong too because like I said, I only skim the surface. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but, uh, chilling performance for sure,
yeah,
for me.
yeah, yeah, great scene. And also I was thinking about how the creators of this show were so much more sort of reserved in their depiction of Ellie torturing Nora than they
Mhm.
were in their depiction of Abby beating Joel to death, because
Mm.
stylistically how the violence was portrayed in the scene with Nora was pretty close to what it was in the game. And in the
Yeah,
game the
that's
Joel
right.
scene was that reserved too, but the show, the Joel scene, they just rub your face in it for
Oh,
like
yeah, they
for what
did.
feels like an eternity. It's so brutal.
Yeah,
Uh
God.
so interesting contrast there, I thought.
Yeah, certainly. I think, again, I loved I love that space we were in. It's, has that red lighting in that hallway. Um, Nora realizes that the immune girl was real. And I was just sort of like, okay. In the show, Ellie reveals that she now knows what Joel did. And we know how she feels about it at this point in time. Um, so I think it just totally was a great moment between these 2 actors, and Bella did such a great job to reveal that she knew what Joel did, and despite that, is still going to end Nora's life, even though Nora gave this, justification for it. you know, I- Joel did a horrible thing. It doesn't matter. Ellie's already made a choice. And bye bye, Nora.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that was brutal. This is the moment. Can we switch to my next moment here?
Yeah, I'm good on Nora.
Okay.
Other than just to reiterate your shout out for Tati Gabrielle, the actress, I just
Yeah,
have thought
Tatiana.
she really shone in what was a pretty small role, and I can't wait to see her in Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet in whenever that comes out.
What a presence. What a presence this actor has too. Like
I
I was
yeah.
really like I just felt like they had been with us throughout the whole show so far. That's how
Mhm.
invested I was.
Yeah,
More
I mean, it's just been like 2 or 3 scenes where they just had like 1 or 2 lines.
but yeah, let's get to my jaw-dropping moment. I don't know. So after watching Nora do this, or sorry, after watching Ellie do this horrific thing to a character, Nora, that killed Joel, and I'm just like, wow, I have to process this. This is so intense. We just cut to Joel opening up the door with a smile, and like I went from a jaw drop to a grin. I was like, and I felt that shift. I felt that change more than anything.
Uh-huh. That's lovely.
I
Yeah.
was like, here's this horrible thing that happens, and we just cut to hello, like Joel
Yeah.
opening the door with a big smile. It's like,
Cue the sitcom audience, like, applauding as the dad comes in, like
stop.
Um, yeah. Yeah, well, no, I was in that moment, I was like, "Oh, that's what they're doing," you know?
Yeah,
I thought it was a bold move. I
me too.
it was so audacious to cut to that to Joel right in that moment, um, and I feel like it was actually and it was an interesting because so like in the game, there would be all these moments where Ellie would have these flashbacks to him being murdered at certain times in the game,
Mhm.
and so this kind of reminded me of that, but in sort of a in a different way, because right when Ellie is at the height of her brutality, trying to avenge his death, we cut back to like immediately feeling the reason that she's on this revenge quest because we get to
Exactly.
see him again, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was a pretty cool little 1-2 emotional punch, I thought.
Yeah, very, very punchy.
Yeah.
What strikes me is that in that scene of Joel and Ellie together, it felt as though so much time had passed between them that they had really grown into that, being a family now. And it was just so like tender and thoughtful. And I was like, where was this during other parts of the show? Like
Yeah.
this is the sweetest moment that I felt like I remember between them. But I mean, that wasn't who they were per se, they I don't know. But he just looked so happy and Ellie looked so happy. And I felt like the next episode is gonna break my heart.
Yeah, I hope it does. I hope it does.
I hope it does.
HBO's been putting stills up. Have you seen that? They've been putting up stills of the museum stuff.
Mm-mm, I haven't
Yeah,
seen
just
that.
little stuff. I have tried not to look because I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I don't want this. I'd rather just watch the episode, but
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah. I'm gonna
There,
wait. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
So
another thing that I really appreciated was that they ended with the Pearl Jam song "Present Tense," which,
mm,
that was the credits music for this episode. Which,
oh
and they
that's
only
right.
played like the very, very beginning of it. But if you know that song, it's kind of an intense choice thematically. In that, considering what they just did with the end of that episode, and they go to the opening of Present Tense. And then also, of course, everybody, Last of Us and Pearl Jam seem to be interconnected in a million ways. So
Yeah.
I just thought that was cool too.
But explain for like those listening, watching, like what what about the song makes it so intense for this moment?
Well, Present Tense is a song about forgiving yourself for your shortcomings and sort of like
Mm,
not only that, but like embracing the totality of life and the failures that you make on the human journey and like living in the present tense, basically,
Yeah.
and it's about taking, the metaphor is like, he talks about this, and you hear this part in the show. He talks about seeing this enormous tree that's like adapting itself to catch the sun's rays, and how there's a lesson in the tree. It like,
Oh,
so I don't know, it just goes from this moment of brutality on probably an ill-advised revenge quest to shooting us back into the past to this moment of tenderness, that's going to lead into this, I'm sure, beautiful birthday adventure they go on, and then going to this song that's kind of commenting on all of it. I thought was really cool.
yeah, that is beautiful. Um, well, I would say the show that this episode did a lot of like for me a good job in building up to like wanting to see a flashback of Joel and Ellie, establishing even more an understanding of characters in these different groups. So my biggest like the thing I love the most was the spores. So glad they found a way to write that in. And I thought it was a great choice. For me, I loved it. I thought it worked very well. The payoff hit hard, especially too. I think you see Leon, poor Leon.
Oh, for sure. No, I mean, I
uh,
think you even see the name on his vest or whatever it is. I think you
yeah,
see
I
his
think
name
that
tag.
was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
I saw the L and I was like, I think that says Leon.
yeah.
And it makes sense that they would make a choice like that. It's
Yeah,
dark. It's
yeah,
so sad. Um,
yeah.
but the show continues to keep me like on this journey and I'm excited. Hopefully in some capacity we'll see Tommy next episode just because I think also great actor, great character that I really, really love. Um, and if they're going to utilize different characters more so throughout the show, like I would love to see more Tommy as much as I would have loved to see more Tommy in the game. So, um, to yeah, wrap it up, I would say I think I covered what I was thinking about and my reactions. I'm curious, what are you watching? What are you playing? What's going on?
When I saw the Thunderbolts, the Marvel movie, and yeah, it was good.
I want to see that.
I think you'd like it. It's different than a lot of Marvel movies tonally, and it's much more. It's like much messier, like intentionally messier, and it's kind of
Mm.
about, like overcoming trauma and stuff like that.
Yeah, you
And
know, I love that.
well, yeah, sure. And then also you've got Florence Pugh as the
I love her.
protagonist, and you've got
Mm.
Julia Louis Dreyfus as the villain. So that's
What?
strong. I mean, that is so.
Okay. I'm
Yeah, I don't know if
sold.
you know, Julia Louis Dreyfus. Her
Yeah.
character's been set up in the MCU. So in this movie, she's the movie's villain. Which I think I maybe spoiled the
Interesting.
first. That's revealed like 20 minutes in, but like,
We'll do
so
spoilers. Spoiler
yeah,
alert.
yeah, but anyway, both of them are just powerhouses. They're both together. They make the film bigger than the MCU almost. It really feels like it has its own identity. It's very smart and well written. So really love that. And what I'm watching, I mean, a million things because there's been so much on this April. But I just watched the
Yeah.
first episode literally last night of that new Apple show Murderbot, and that
Oh,
was
I want to check it out.
I
Okay.
really like the first episode. I love this character. Like he's this robot who has he's managed to hack his limiter, so he's like but he's hiding it, so he's like self-aware and in full control. He doesn't have to follow orders, and he doesn't know how to interact with humans, so he doesn't want to. All he wants to do is
Mm.
be left alone to watch his TV shows. And so
Sorry.
no, I know.
Sorry.
That's why I mean, yeah, it's super relatable, right? So
Exactly.
yeah. And then in video game land, I just started playing Doom: The Dark Ages, which is a video game about going through like a medieval space sci-fi hell
Dope.
and killing lots and lots of demons, and so that's cool. That's been
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. What about
Okay. Wow. Okay.
wait,
I'm just digesting all this stuff for note for me to like tune into later.
well, yeah, and then we were talking about Alan Wake. I've been going back and
Yeah.
playing the DLC for Alan Wake 2, and you were thinking about getting into that. Did
Hmm.
you? Do you think that's something you might get into?
So I'm gonna start. I thought about it. I'm gonna start the first Alan Wake.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I think that's the right move. They're
Okay.
both really fun, and for the story experience, it'll be a lot better if you do the first one first.
Yeah. Maybe budget playing a part of my final decision, but
There you go.
I was pretty tempted because I really enjoyed the trailer for Alan Wake 2.
Yeah,
So we'll see,
Alan
but
Wake.
yeah.
I mean,
For
Alan Wake 2, I think, is probably a little better than the first one. I'd have to go back and replay it because I haven't played it since it released.
mm.
But so much of what makes Alan Wake 2 work is the fact that I had the experience of playing the first one.
Yeah,
So,
interesting. So yeah, and I took that to heart too.
yeah.
Once you were telling me about these games. So as far as games for me, I've downloaded it, so I'm gonna start that. I'm excited. Haven't been
Mm,
playing much because I have been going through it after
yeah.
surgery, and I'm bummed because we never did the Sea of Thieves. You,
Mm.
me, and Yosh. We were all gonna hang out. I was really looking forward to that. I'm so bummed. And
We'll do it again.
then
We'll do it again. We
yeah.
got to do it before Yosh gets his Switch too, because after that we'll lose him. That's going to
He'll
happen
be
in a couple of
gone.
weeks.
No.
Yeah.
um, so for shows, I never really talked to you about this. I mean, on the show, maybe I did, but I'm obsessed with the Yellowstone franchise. And I
Yeah.
never got to share that I absolutely loved 1923, probably my favorite.
Oh
I don't
wow.
think you saw the second season,
No, and
right?
it's for sure on my list. I've just been waiting for all these other shows to end because then I'm going to get the P Plus subscription and watch it.
Yeah, I loved it. I love that show.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I
Well,
I thought it was brilliant. Harrison
yeah,
Ford, excellent.
you know how I am about Harrison Ford.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think I rubbed off on you a little bit, right? Like
Oh
you
yeah,
got it. Yeah, yeah. He's amazing.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I love this Brandon Sklenar too. That guy's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, he did a great job, and
Yeah.
also I don't there's honestly watch the second season because I feel like every character was portrayed by an amazing actor. I just felt like they really knew what they were doing when they cast 1923, as far as like how they performed the characters. Second show, never got to really go in depth about it. It's so wild. It's so crazy. It's overwhelming. Um, Yellow Jackets wrapped that up.
Is it now? Did that show end or is it still going?
I think it's still going. I
Okay.
watched the third season. Not all in this past since we last recorded. I'm talking about
Right.
things I've wrapped up. And
Yeah.
then uh what's another great one? I really like one of the actors that's in Yellow Jackets. I love them all, honestly, but one of the younger women I watched in the show Sweet Pea. What an amazing actress in Fallout. She's in Fallout too. She is
Oh
really a
yeah.
rising star.
What's her name? Is it Emma something? Ella Purnell.
Yeah, loved Ella's performance. She's so great at like switching between characters, and I love when an actor can do that. It's
Yeah.
amazing when an actor can like really hone into a character, and that's kind of what they personify out there in the world in their
Mhm.
performances. But I feel like Ella really knows how to dive into a new, completely different person,
Yeah.
which is interesting to watch. And so,
She's extremely lively,
yeah,
and I loved
hmm
her in Fallout. I mean,
oh
she can,
yeah,
and I really liked how she can be either heavy or light and kind of switch back and forth between the 2 pretty effortlessly, which
yep,
is great for a
absolutely.
show. And she did a movie in Alaska, where I'm
Yep,
from.
I saw that years ago too, I remember. She was like a kid then,
Yeah,
so
she was like 15. Wild Like, that movie was called. I know some people
yeah.
that worked on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's
It was
cool.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked that movie. Like any movie, it's like you're like, "It's based in Alaska." I'm watching it.
Yeah, and one thing I appreciated about that movie is they got the geography very accurate because they depict her journey from Anchorage to Denali with, the guy who becomes her sort of dad, and,
Friend.
yeah, I don't
He's
know.
there for like 5 days of her life. I wouldn't say dad.
Yeah, but he does, like, okay, well, whatever. Anyway, yeah, it's, an okay movie, but it features my state in a pretty beautiful way, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I really loved it because of that.
Yeah.
As well. So that's like sort of what's going on for me with shows. I'm also watching the new one, just kind of on in the background. I think I'm gonna have to tune back. The new show with John Hamm has been fun. It's on Apple. It's like number one right now.
Yeah, Your Friends and Neighbors.
Your Friends and Neighbors. I'm
Yeah, I
watching
watched the
that a
first
little
4
bit.
episodes.
Yeah, I'm into it. It's not, if I never continued, I would be okay.
Yeah, I'm
But at
kinda
the
there
same
too.
time, I'm like, I need some entertainment to where I'm sticking with it till the end at
I
this point.
it's something to watch. I'm like 3 episodes behind, and I kinda need to get back into it, but I do like it, and I mean, I really love John Hamm, and I think it's a really good role for him. It's kind of like in the same sort of performance space as Don Draper, which I think is his best part.
Yeah,
That and the
and
evil sheriff
so
that he did on Fargo. So, but so
mhm.
this is like a really good part for him, and it really showcases what he's best at. So,
Yeah, and so I think another example of an actor who, like, can really do a certain character really well.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's sort of it, as far as shows and, games, not really any movies. We're gonna try to get to a movie, if I can physically make it, hopefully this week. So I'll check out Thunderbolts. Seems fun.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty good. I got a new Final Destination's out too. I got to go see that. That'll probably be
oh,
the
there's
movie I
that.
bring up next week. Yeah, I love a Final Destination movie.
I do too, but I ended up getting too paranoid about turning off my oven or something. Like I can't remember, but that movie makes me think I need to check out. I'm already like suffering from OCD. So
Yeah.
like Final Destination gives me way too many more scenarios to obsess about.
Yeah, yeah. It's really, I mean, as stupid as those movies are, I feel a unique kind of anxiety watching them that I don't usually get from horror movies. So like,
Right?
as the person's like going around their kitchen doing mundane things, and then you see like, oh wait, the gas is on. No, oh my god, it's
It
really
makes
stressful.
me think of that time you were baking me those favorite carrot fries that I love, and
Yeah.
you cut your
I
finger
almost cut 2 of my fingers off. Yeah, and then
and
so
blood
for
went
the listener,
everywhere.
no, it was crazy because what happened was I sliced along 2 of my fingers. I still have, I think, a pretty significant scar, and then my first instinct after cutting my fingers was to shake my hand, like after like I'd been bitten by a rat or something, and I just splattered blood all over my kitchen. Kelly, when I moved out of that apartment, there were still blood spots
I
on the
know.
ceiling, and I didn't clean them off. I left it. I was like, I'm leaving a part of me in this apartment. But yeah, I got blood. I
Just
I know
breathing.
it was gory as hell. It was really, and yeah, I wonder if I could still see. I mean, there's not much light here, but yeah, I still have those
So
scars. I still have
so
those
for
scars.
everyone listening, this is why I cannot watch any Final Destination shows. It's because of Paul.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the
Some
reason.
yeah. I'm really not into, like, scary movies anymore. I was going through a phase, maybe it's because I was, like, dating a guy who was into scary movies, and so I
Mm.
became the girl at school in one directing class who, like, loved horror movies, and I'm, like, and home invasion movies or this or that, and it's like, no, I was just, like, putting out there what this guy was, making me watch, and I'm like, "Damn it, I never even really liked them." So now all these people probably think I'm, like, obsessed with, I forget the name of that movie,
That's
but,
so, yeah. Funny games.
Funny Games,
You
yeah.
said it was your favorite movie, but no, because
It's
I
not.
met you during
It
that bit.
never was.
That's so funny. I had no idea. This is the first time I'm learning
That's
this.
the yeah, because I was being, like, pressured to, like, watch it and, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, things were really tough during that time, but it's funny
Yeah,
that I feel like people have this maybe, like, you have a memory of someone you met, and, like, that's kind of who they are in your mind forever,
yeah,
really, with an understanding people have the capacity to change, like I
yeah.
have. I'm a totally different person with still some elements of, like, love comedy. I'm silly, I'm goofy.
Yeah, just the good ones. Just the good ones.
I just, I've done a lot of healing. It just was never my thing, actually. Like, I never was really that obsessed about horror movies. It was fun to, like, when I was helping you with one of your movies and we had to go find a dismembered leg for a
Oh, that
prop.
was fun. Yeah,
It
when we
was
went to
super
that pop's house.
fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love horror movies, but, like, maybe more classic ones. I don't think all the new stuff out there and, like, the scariest, like, I love scary movies, but not, like, horror movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it sometimes. I'm not really into the hardcore gore stuff, but also I just want to say I think it's funny that you're giving this speech about how you're not that into horror on a podcast about a show where the world has been taken over by mushroom zombies.
No, I love zombies. Yeah, what I'm saying is I'm not obsessed with horror films
Right,
the
right.
way, like, maybe you perceived or, like, people from my past perceived. I think they're fun, but, like, Funny Games was never my favorite movie. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
why I was
Yeah.
putting that out there. I think just yeah, anyhow, long
Well,
story short.
that's something I get pigeonholed that way too. I mean, because we do this podcast. Also, I work on Bruce Fest, a fan
Mhm.
convention in collaboration with the horror icon Bruce Campbell of the Evil Dead franchise. And so people
Yeah.
always assume like, "Oh, you're a horror guy," and I'm like, "Well, no, I'm not. I'm a movie guy, and I happen to really
Yeah.
love some horror movies as I do things from any genre."
Right.
But yeah, so but people like to, I don't know. I
Put you
think
in a box and sorta
people like to put you in a box, and I think people aren't used to people who watch everything, you
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
everybody I meet at some point when they're getting to know me will be like, "What? You like that?" And the thing they're surprised that I like is always something different, but,
Mhm.
there's always something that they don't expect me to like.
I think it's funny that you don't surprise me, but I surprise you. And we had like a whole short bit on that on one of our podcasts. But like,
Yeah.
so at the same time, I love horror stuff. I love zombies. I'm a
Mhm.
zombie girl
You
for
are.
sure. I mean, we went
Yeah.
to that Walking Dead premiere like of season 8 or something when Glenn is killed. Um, Spoiler alerts.
Yeah. I don't I have
You
a
think
feeling
people know by
everybody who
now?
wanted to watch Walking Dead probably has by now.
Good.
Yeah.
Um, so I love a good zombie show, movie. I just, in terms of like gore, not really my thing. I can't really handle it. I'm very like reactionary already to films, so
Well, to me, a
no
whole
thank you to the Final Destination coming out, which takes place in some backyard where everything goes freaking wrong. I don't want to see. I cannot. I cannot.
yeah, fair enough. And, so I guess we'll see you again, after the next episode. I'm sure we're gonna have some
Yeah.
interesting stuff to talk about with all those flashbacks. I can't wait to see what they're doing. And, I will say, I think that coming on this podcast and, like, listing all of my little complaints, is actually kinda cathartic for me because now they
Yeah.
won't be bouncing around in my head when I watch the next episode.
I get that. I feel that too. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great. And yeah, no, just again, thank you everyone for tuning into the
Fungus Among Us,
Among
a Last of
Us.
Us podcast.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, week, life, wherever you are.
Goodbye.
Bye.